Yeah, no, I was so I've my comfort YouTuber of choice recently has been Wendigoon. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Wendigoon. I think his videos are all really, really, really interesting and super relaxing to listen to. Even if the subject matter of these videos is deeply disturbing and horrifying. The other day, I listened to his video about like the disturbing movie like Iceberg with all of these like horrible, horrible, disgusting horror movies and stuff like that. And the one that made me laugh the most that he said was like more hilarious was the one where it's like man tries to commit suicide, finds that he cannot die, and so he just kind of starts disemboweling himself until he's just a head on a table, and then he's like, you know what? Maybe being alive ain't so bad.
I hope that you all can appreciate real art when you see it.
And I just think that's kind of a funny idea for a really disturbing movie. Like apparently his wife cheats on him or something, so he starts throwing his own guts at the man that the man that like Mr. Steal Your Girl. That's what Edward should have done to Jacob. Ada, thank you very much for the super screaming and learning about the plot of the characters of FNAF. It's a fun rabbit hole to go down. I'd recommend Wendigoon's video on it. After MatPat had the unfortunate struggle of having to analyze FNAF every single time a new chapter came out, and then each new game would kind of contradict something he said previously, Wendigoon just gives you 1 hour of like, listen guys, this is what I think happens. Hello, going on a long bus ride for a weekend out with a friend, but I'm missing some in-bus entertainment. Anything you'd like to recommend? It depends on what you're into. My favorite sort of, while I'm on public transport going somewhere, my favorite sort of thing to listen to would be a Wendigoon video. If you're into horror, like true crime and stuff like that, Wendigoon is a great person to listen to because some of these stories can get really sinister and quite upsetting, but what Wendigoon does is he approaches it in a very like, yeah, so there was this guy who got all of his blood sucked out, but he's wearing this like nice floral Hawaiian shirt, and he's just very friendly and amicable, and you feel like he is just as freaked out as you are, but he doesn't oversell it. He's not like, number 12, cockroach, you know, like a lot of people who talk about these stories do. He tells all of these stories in a very respectful way, and in a way where it's like informative and thoroughly researched. Without it feeling like it's just there for sensationalism. My favorite video of his is the story of Hasashi Ochi, the nuclear man who was exposed to radiation and was kept alive for some 86 days or something like that, and who would, you know, universally agreed have gone through one of the most agonizing deaths, if not the most agonizing death that a human being could ever experience. A really horrible story. But what I loved about his telling of it is that he did so much research, and he did such a deep dive into the real story, because it's often misrepresented, right? It's often misrepresented because some people say, oh, his family were evil and selfish and they forced the doctors to keep him alive. And then some people say, oh, the doctors just wanted to experiment on him and kept him alive so that they could see what would happen, and he was in agony and he wanted to stop. When in reality, when the reading is done, he wanted to live as long as possible for his family. There were times when he wanted to give up, and there are times when he wanted them to say, just unplug me and let me die. But, you know, when he was around his family, he, you know, decided, no, I will keep trying to live for them. And the part of the story that really, really touches me, and I think, if anything, it's a horrible story, but it does leave one coming away with just thinking about the value of familial love, and how it was so powerful, and he loved and was loved by his family so much that he would endure anything to get to see them again, you know. And even though he did unfortunately pass away in the end, it still really speaks to the strength of his character. Yes, I was going to mention the part about the origami, because a lot of you, obviously, a lot of you are Japanese fans who may know this, but those of you who don't, it's supposed to be a tradition that if you fold 1,000 paper cranes, you're supposed to be able to make a wish. And throughout his time in the hospital, his family stayed in the hospital, essentially lived there for the months that he was alive. And once, you know, unfortunately he passed away, his family had, I think it was just his son and his father, had folded more than 10,000 paper cranes. I feel myself like choking up a little bit just thinking about it. And as tragic and as sad as it is, it really, really makes one think about the strength of their bond as a family. And, you know, I come away from it feeling heartbroken, but also strangely with a sense that, you know, I'm glad that the story of someone and his family with that much of a bond, that their story gets to be told in a way that's honest. It's a tragedy that some people try to make it out to be some horror story where his family were terrible and the doctors were terrible, but if you look into the facts, that's just not true. You know, his family loved him, he loved his family, and he wanted to stay alive for them. But yes, the video he made about that, very, very informative and really respectful to the situation itself. Wendigoon is the guy. I really enjoy his content, and I'm sure that you will as well.
You would not believe your eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep. And I got 10,000 hugs from 10 million lightning bugs. They try to teach me how to dance.